I am poet and writer Case Spivey. It's been a little bit since I did any kind of a wrap up, but I have not stopped buying books. So I wanted to wrap up all the books I bought since my last wrap up, all of my summer picks, and I wanted to go over the things that I have read and also some new favorites and some new information. And I have a bit of an announcement at the end of the video, so hopefully you will stay tuned for that. Okay, so I have just kind of been buying like crazy, honestly, for a little while here. One of the first things is that I bought a Kindle version of Natalia Leigh's book Pistol Daisy. Ooh, it just keeps flashing away. But so Pistol Daisy, I read the ebook of that. I'm gonna be totally honest, it just felt like it was too short. It just felt like the book was headed somewhere and we hadn't quite got there yet, and it was sort of like it would have fit if the book felt more like it was supposed to be like part of a middle grade series, but the tone and the content didn't reflect that, so it just felt too short to me. It was kind of fun. It brought me back to my kind of middle grade horse days when I was reading all kinds of horse books. It wasn't poorly written, I don't think. It did have it suffered from a syndrome I don't like, which is where it can't decide if it's feminist or misogynistic. They're like, oh, Daisy's not like the other girls. She wears pants and all the other women wear skirts, and that makes Daisy special. Oh, and she almost gets raped, but not quite. Oh, and she doesn't know how to shoot a gun, and oh, okay. The real reason I'm ragging on this is she had the gun and she was learning how to shoot it, and she kept shooting and then missing the exact same way. For like a week or something, she's wasting bullets, pointing at the target, and then it's hitting over in the tree. And I'm like, what kind of idiot keeps doing the same thing and expecting different results? If it constantly is hitting to the, I think it was to the left actually. If it's constantly hitting to the left, then you just aim a little bit over and hit your target. Like, that's how easy that is. This isn't, like, yeah, she did need to like fix the gun. Obviously, the like, whatever, the sights were off. Yeah, totally. But like, what kind of idiot spends weeks constantly trying to line up the sights and always hitting to the side and is never like, you know what I could do? Just like aim a little this way and hit my target. Anyway, that's my thought on Pistol Daisy. I don't think it was bad, but that bothered me a lot. And the like, oh, not like other women. Whereas you're like, okay, I thought this was like, sometimes it's empowering and like, go, like, she's a strong character, and sometimes it's like, women suck, and you're like, and I just felt like it had just kind of gotten to the point where we were like punching into the action, we were getting to the meat of it, and the book was done. For the type of story it was, I would have just liked for it to be a complete story rather than being split up into a series, but I think that might have just been me. Next up, books that I read. Uprooted by Naomi Novik, which I had said I was gonna read. I did read. This may be my new favorite book. This is phenomenal. I think that it's supposed to be a little bit of a like Beauty and the Beast thing, but it has like very strong Howl's Moving Castle vibes. If you enjoyed Howl's Moving Castle and you want something a little bit more actiony, a little bit more like high intensity, a bit of sex, this is the book for you. It was silly, it was fun, it was magical, it was violent. To me, this was wonderful. This was perfect. I really loved every aspect of it. Powers, magician, or I guess he's a wizard, magic, kingdoms, courts, like it had everything. It just had everything I liked. It was so much fun. If you're looking for like strong female characters, like this is it. She shows up, doesn't really know what's going on, totally unprepared as she kind of figures out her magic. Like, dude, a dude tries to rape her and she literally straight up murders that guy. Yeah, oh, it's good. And then her friend, who kind of like was expected to be in the position she's in, this is like right at the beginning, so that's not spoiling anything. And then she gets chosen instead by the wizard instead of her friend, who everyone just assumed would be the one who was chosen. When that happens, the friend doesn't like disappear into oblivion. No, the friend is like, you know what, I'm still gonna get to see the world after all, and just like takes her own power into her own hands. And oh, it's so wonderful. This is such a good book. So a lot of people told me that they liked the sequel. What's kind of a sequel? It's like a companion. It's the same universe sort of, but it's totally different setting, different characters. Some people told me they liked this one even more. I'm only halfway through, But this one suffers from some of the same thing that I had a problem with Pistol Daisy, which is the like, if there's a man in the room, suddenly I'm a helpless woman, even though I'm totally capable of doing this task, and I'm just like, oh, I can't handle that anymore. I think I already went on a rampage while I was in one of my vlogs about that specific thing. It drives me freaking crazy when you establish that a woman is capable of something like physically strong, mentally strong, anything. But when there's a man in the room, oh, she can't do anything. Like, oh, I'll just let my father beat me. Oh, but my brother will stop him. And you're just like, girl, you could stop him. You are that strong. And you're just like, I'm only halfway through, like I said, but everything is like, well, I'm a woman, so all I can do is marry. Like, I don't like it as much as I liked Uprooted right from the start, but I'm still giving it a try. It's a very, very different story. This one is based on Rumpelstiltskin. I'm gonna see. In the genre of really disappointing sequels, I also listened to the audiobook of Wayward Son, which is the sequel to Carry On, which I loved. If you remember at the beginning of the year, friggin' here, Carry On is right here. I only listened to the audiobook. I did not buy Wayward Son. Carry On, amazing. So good. Everything about it, loved it. Wayward Son had a lot of issues. I have a whole other video devoted to my thoughts on that. I'm just gonna direct you over to that video because I have too many strong emotions. Basically, I didn't like it at all. I didn't like it. I did not like it. I was into the road tripping aspect. I was into like change of scenery. There were so many things. I think after the Renaissance Fair, I was lost. It was gone. I was not into it. I realized we were headed down a path that was not going to wrap up anything, and then we ended up in the same place. Yeah, I was so disappointed with Wayward Son. It was devastating. Getting into some poetry now. I also read Calling a Wolf, finally, by Kaveh Akbar, and my thoughts on this one are very complicated. It's well written, but, well, okay, this is sort of like the thought process. It's very much about a drunk. It's a man who's drunk and kind of going through different portions of the life. And I think this may have been at least partially autobiographical for him. I believe I remember hearing about that at some point. It very much reads like someone who is drunk. And so I think in the end it really wasn't for me. There are like these gorgeous lines that'll pop out of places, but there's a lot of times where you're reading through and you're just kind of getting lost in everything and you kind of feel like you're drunk too. And I think that's what it's meant to be. It wasn't something I loved. I wasn't in love with this collection at all. And I feel like maybe this is another one. This is kind of like when I read the Ocean Vuong's collection and it wasn't hitting me the way it was hitting other people. I think this is kind of the same thing. I may have to read this again at some point and kind of see it from a different perspective. It wasn't bad, I didn't love it. One that I did love though, and this was a recommendation from Shelley Flowers Reads and Writes, and that was The More Extravagant Feast by Lee Naomi Green. This was really good. I loved this. This is a very smart poetry collection. I had to look up a few words. She uses like the anatomically correct wording for like parts of a flower or something. And so I'm just like, how do you pronounce that word? I've never even seen that written. It made me feel like I was back in college, like I was learning again. And she also relates all of these like pieces of nature in a very Mary Oliver kind of way. If you like Mary Oliver, I would actually suggest you check this one out. But she relates all of it to pregnancy and motherhood in a way that's just so beautifully woven. This collection was really lovely. It has some Walt Whitman ties in it, but I think a little more on the Mary Oliver side of that kind of style. It was just really beautiful. I just kind of sat and read this all in one sitting, and this is just exactly the kind of poetry that I really love. I was very impressed. It was absolutely as good as Michelle Flores said it would be. I'll read you one of the poems. This one's called Relativity. Suspecting that large bodies bend space, they only needed to observe starlight bent by the sun, and so waited 3 years for a suitable eclipse, and led an expedition to Crimea, where they were taken by the Russian army at the beginning of World War I. Einstein was sitting in a chair in the patent office where he worked when he had a thought. If a person falls freely, he will not feel his own weight. Later, he called this the happiest thought of his life, though happiest here may be better translated from the German as most fortunate. When Einstein's son, Edward, asked him why he was famous, he responded that people are like blind beetles who walk the curved circumference of a branch, not knowing the branch curves. He told Edward that he could see the curve. They were estranged by the time Edward was old enough to send letters. If a person fell freely, the observer would not be able to tell if he were subject to the force of gravity or acceleration. He would not know if he was falling or floating in space. I think that's so lovely. All of them come back with that like hit of poignancy at the very end. Just absolutely a lovely collection. That's about what I read since my last wrap up. Now, for the rest of the books that I have picked up, because I have not stopped buying. Sometimes you just can't stop yourself. So, I have two more. Shelley Flowers is so good at recommending me books, so I bought two more that she recommended. This one is Magic City Gospel by Ashley M. Jones, another poetry collection with the most gorgeous cover. Look at this for a moment. This cover is so beautiful. That was really why I chose this one. I could not get over how gorgeous this cover was. So I have not read this one yet, but I am looking forward to it. That's about what I know about it. I just turned to one that is, this poem is called Viewing a KKK Uniform at the Civil Rights Institute. So I think this is going to be a little bit of political poetry right here. And then this one, Intergalactic Travels, Poems from a Fugitive Alien by Alan Pelez Lopez. Wow, check this out. A lot of like big, bold, different things, which I am not always, let's try and white balance back to here again. I'm not always a fan of this kind of poetry, but Shelley Flowers said it was really good, and so I am looking forward to it and I'm going to give it a chance. Next up, and this one I am sure was the other person who is really good at recommending me books. Some of you just talk about books in a way that I'm just like, yes, okay, I'm on board with like everything you say, and then I have to be like, no. Okay, you have to like choose what things you're interested in. You have to be a little bit picky. Jen Campbell is the other one who is just really good at selling. Well, she used to be a bookseller. I think that's what it is. Shelley Flowers is a teacher and Jen Campbell used to be a bookseller. They're already trained to sell me these. But anyway, this one is called Moving House. Deeply apologize. I think I'm going to say this name incorrectly. I'm going to do my best. It's Theophilus Queck. It just sounded really lovely, but also Moving House moves on a big time and space map from Icelandic Isles to the Malayan emergency and more contemporary dramas from the perspective of a Chinese Singaporean shaped by the collective traditions and histories described in this book. Writing in Britain, the poems model a sense of openness on the space of the page. I don't know if I've mentioned it or not, but my husband's family is from Singapore, and that was really what interested me in this collection. Is I'd like to know things from a Chinese Singaporean perspective, and if I like them enough, I'm gonna have my husband read them after. We're not done with you yet, Michelle Flores. You also have convinced me to pick up Incendiary. I am very much a cover buyer. If you hold up an a book that to me is absolutely gorgeous, and you make it sound good, I can't help myself. So this cover is so pretty. This is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. There was another really pretty cover as well, where I think she's like, there's like the girl lying there. All the covers for this book were gorgeous. It just on the back says, I am Renata Convida. I have lived 100 stolen lives. Now I live my own. Woo. I don't know what it's really going to be about, but I believe that this is a fantasy. I think it has something to do with fire, given the name Incendiary and the fire on the cover. But I'm excited to just jump into this and find out what it's about. And then, because I follow Aiden Thomas on Twitter, and I was following Aiden Thomas on Twitter before this came out. I don't know why I started following them. Cemetery Boys is all I'm hearing about on Twitter. And I finally heard an actual synopsis of the book rather than just like seeing the really, really lovely cover. And it sounds fantastic. When his traditional Latinx family has problems accepting his gender, Yadriel becomes determined to prove himself a real brujo. With the help of his cousin and best friend, Maritza, he performs the Quinces ritual himself, and then sets out to find the ghost of his murdered cousin Miguel and set it free. However, the ghost he summons is actually Julian Diaz, the school's resident bad boy. I mean, this has gotta be great, right? Julian is not about to go quietly into death. He is determined to find out what happened and tie up some loose ends before he leaves. Left with no choice, Yadriel agrees to help Julian so they can both get what they want. But the longer Yadriel spends with Julian, the less he wants him to leave. I mean, if this has even a like tiny inkling of the vibes I had from Carry On, I'm into that. So I know almost everything has been recommended by Michelle Flores on Shelly Flowers Reads and Writes. I've just been really enjoying her channel. If you're not following her and you like poetry and booktube content, head on over there. But also, she and I are going to be doing a little bit of a readathon. Both of us have never read but did enjoy the TV show of Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. So for this October, we are both going to read this book and then do a discussion about it. We're going to do a live discussion, something neither of us is that familiar with, so please bear with us, but please tune in. I will have more information and dates and everything, and I will be doing a reading vlog as well of my experience with The Haunting of Hill House, which I'm so excited to start for October. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what both of us think. I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to connect. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you would also like to read and then come up with some questions, or maybe if you've read it already and have anything you want to share with us, make sure you tune in for that live stream when it happens. I will have dates and everything. I will actually, once we've got them, they'll be linked in the comments, not the comments, linked down below, and I will also have a video announcing when we are doing that. One very last thing before I forget, I also wanted to just show off my new lipstick. It is from a company called Lipslut, and this is a special color. A large portion of the proceeds of this particular shade went to help with the Black Lives Matter movement. I just wanted to share this color with all of you so you can enjoy what I've been wearing on my lips. That's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I listed and what you thought of them. Don't spoil anything for the ones that I haven't read quite yet, but I definitely want to talk with anyone about the ones that I have read already. Good luck to all of us, and especially to you. Bye!